Post-it notes are one of those everyday things most people never stop to think about. They sit on desks, walls, books, computer screens, and kitchen counters like they have always been there. But the truth is, post-it notes exist because of a glue that was not supposed to turn out the way it did. That is what makes the story so interesting. One of the most famous office products in the world began with an adhesive that seemed too weak to be useful. And yet that failed glue ended up solving a problem millions of people did not even realize they had. The simple version of the story is that post-it notes came from a failed glue, and that part is mostly true. But the more accurate version is even better. In 1968, 3M scientist Spencer Silver was trying to develop a strong adhesive. Instead, he created a very unusual one. It stuck to surfaces, but not too aggressively. It could hold lightly, come off easily, and be used again. In other words, it was not the powerful glue he was aiming for, but it was not useless either. It was something different. Silver realized he had found a new kind of adhesive, even if no one knew what to do with it yet. What made Silver's adhesive special was the way it worked. It was made from tiny acrylic microspheres. Instead of flattening hard against a surface like a strong permanent glue, these particles made lighter contact. That meant the bond was strong enough to hold a piece of paper in place, but weak enough to let you peel it away without tearing the page or leaving behind a mess. It was a low-tack, pressure-sensitive adhesive. That phrase sounds technical, but the idea is simple. Press it down and it sticks. Peel it up and it lets go. That balance is the whole magic of the post-it note. For a while, though, that magic did not have a clear purpose. Silver kept talking about his adhesive inside 3M, because he believed it had value, but it was hard to convince people when there was no obvious product attached to it. A weak glue is a hard sell if everyone is thinking about glue in the usual way. Most people expect glue to be permanent. They want it to lock things together. Silver's invention did the opposite. It held things temporarily. That sounds normal now, because we live in a world full of removable notes, tabs, labels, and temporary signs. But at the time, it was a strange idea. The turning point came a few years later because of another 3M employee, Art Fry. In 1974, Fry was singing in his church choir and had a small but annoying problem. The paper bookmarks he used in his hymnal kept falling out. He needed something that would stay in place, but would not damage the page when removed. That was when he remembered Silver's low-tack adhesive. Suddenly, the failed glue had a real job to do. Fry realized it could become a bookmark that stuck lightly to paper, stayed where you put it, and peeled away cleanly. That idea led directly to the product we know today. Once Fry saw the use case, the idea grew quickly. The bookmark concept naturally expanded into notes. If a small piece of paper could stick to a page without damaging it, then it could also carry messages, reminders, edits, phone numbers, and to-do lists. That may sound obvious now, but it was a very smart leap. The product was not just about sticking paper somewhere. It was about temporary communication. You could leave information exactly where someone needed to see it, and remove it later without leaving damage. That is why post-it notes became bigger than a bookmark. They turned into a flexible communication tool for desks, documents, and shared workspaces. Even then, success was not instant. The early version of the product was test-marketed in 1977 under the name Press and Peel. The response was mixed. People did not immediately understand why they needed it. That is one of the most important lessons in the whole story. Some products are hard to explain until people try them. 3M eventually pushed the notes directly into people's hands through a famous sampling campaign in Boise, Idaho. Once office workers actually used them, the appeal became obvious. The notes could stick to documents, desks, and planners, then come off cleanly and move somewhere else. After that, the product began to sell itself. That is why office adoption happened so fast after the sampling effort. Fry later explained that Post-it notes were almost self-advertising. Someone would stick a note on a document, send it to another person, and that person would peel it off, play with it, and suddenly understand why it was useful. In a way, every note became a live demo. That is powerful because it meant the product explained itself through behavior, not just marketing. Instead of telling people what the notes could do, 3M let people experience it for themselves. For an everyday office tool, that was a perfect strategy. The national US launch came on April 6, 1980, under the name Post-it Notes. This time, the product took off. The timing helped, but the real reason was simple. Offices run on temporary information. Not every message belongs in a permanent file, and not every reminder needs tape, staples, or a full sheet of paper. Post-it notes filled a gap between saying something and formally documenting it. They were quick, light, visual, and flexible. That made them useful in meetings, on reports, in classrooms, on calendars, and at home. They solved a very human problem: the need to remember something right now without making it permanent forever. A lot of people assume Post-it notes work because of the paper, but that is really the myth at the center of this story. The paper matters, of course, but the real invention is the adhesive. Ordinary paper with ordinary glue would either fall off too easily or stick too hard. Post-it notes work because the adhesive is engineered to do two opposite things at the same time. It has to hold securely enough to stay put, and release gently enough to come off cleanly. 3M describes the product as using a unique adhesive designed for paper, and that is the key point. The genius is not that it is a note. The genius is that it is a note you can reposition. That also explains why Post-it notes usually peel cleanly without leaving residue. The adhesive is low-tack, meaning it does not dig in like a permanent glue. It is designed for lighter bonding, especially on paper. Because the bond is gentler, you can remove the note without ripping fibers or leaving much behind when used as intended. That clean removal is not a side benefit. It is the whole point. If the note left sticky marks everywhere, the product would never have become an office staple. Reusability and clean removal were built into the idea from the start. Another small detail that became iconic was the color. The original canary yellow was not chosen after some grand branding strategy. According to 3M's brand history, it happened by coincidence because a nearby lab had scrap yellow paper available. That accidental color choice ended up becoming one of the most recognizable looks in office supplies. Over time, the product line expanded into new colors, sizes, flags, pop-up dispensers, and stronger versions like super sticky notes. But the core idea stayed the same: a temporary note that is easy to place, easy to remove, and easy to notice. What makes the history of Post-it notes so lasting is that it is really a story about seeing value where others see failure. Spencer Silver did not get the glue he was aiming for, but he understood that he had discovered something unusual. Art Fry did not invent the adhesive, but he saw the everyday problem it could solve. 3M did not get instant success in the first market test, but the company kept going until users could try the product for themselves. That chain of persistence matters just as much as the science. Post-it notes were not born in one perfect moment. They were built step by step through experimentation, patience, and a better understanding of how people actually work. And that is why post-it notes still matter today, even in a digital world. We have apps, reminders, and cloud documents, but a small note placed exactly where your eyes will land still does something digital tools often do not. It stays visible. It feels immediate. It asks for attention in a quiet but effective way. The post-it note survived because it did not try to replace everything. It just solved one simple problem extremely well. So the next time you peel one off a page or stick one to your desk, remember this. You are using a product born from a glue that looked like a mistake, but turned out to be one of the smartest everyday inventions of the modern office. If you enjoyed this video, please like, share and subscribe. Then tap the bell icon to turn on all notifications so you never miss any of our future videos.